So thank you for joining us for our Knowledge at Noon speaker series. Just as a reminder, please mute your microphone and video so that we can ensure a smooth streaming experience. Knowledge at Noon is a free monthly speaker series featuring artists, historians, cultural leaders, and agricultural professionals that explores themes central to Yolo arts and Yolo County and the historical collection. Before we get started, we have a few announcements to make. And if you don't catch it now, we will share it again at the end of the talk. Also, this talk is being recorded, so you can view it later. As I mentioned, please mute your microphone and video to preserve the bandwidth and ensure a pleasant streaming experience. For those of you viewing on your computer, we recommend selecting the speaker view under meeting. And if you have a question, please submit the question in the chat feature, and we will do a moderated Q&A at the end. Excellent. All right. So as we begin the talk today, I would like to introduce Diana Almendariz, who began her quest to research the lifestyle of her Native people at a young age. And in college, she took every available Native American and mythology course that she could as she develops her knowledge base and shares her rich cultural history with the public. So she tries to raise awareness for Native people and practices. As she becomes self-aware of the knowledge that she has gained throughout her practice, she will share that with us today. She'll be talking about Native basket making and the tradition associated with Native materials. And as that sort of feeds into her exploration of her own culture, so that we can also learn about it as well. Okay, so I am going to stop sharing my screen at the moment. I'm going to open it up to Diana, if she wouldn't mind unmuting.
But hello, everybody. My name is Diana Almenders, and I've been doing this, working within the environment in my lifestyle home, and being a Western-born Native person, not in a rancheria, not on a reservation, but just in the middle of a big city called Sacramento, which is also my homeland. And I'm Maidu and Wintun, and the Wintun family was on the other side of the Sacramento River, and I'm on this side of the Sacramento River, the north side and the south side. So that's kind of like what happens every once in a while. You meet the people on the other side of the river. So that's where I'm speaking from too, in Sacramento. But I also been working the past 20, 30 years in Woodland in Yolo County, and working in this, still the same thing, only with my other history of myself, not just Maidu, but Wintun. I might not have enough lifetime to do Hupa and Yurok, because I'm also that, but I have dabbled in redwood bark, redwood boats and such like that, and I do still work with some of the skills of the Hupa cultures, but I'm mainly homeland person, focusing on Sacramento and my Wintun lifestyle, which is the marsh is on the other side of the Sacramento River. So that's mainly my focus in life. And luckily, I will say this, that in this Western society that my people have survived in, is that I've been able to work teaching culture my whole life, pretty much. Whether I'm being a teacher in a Montessori school, to a teacher within another tribe, or a teacher in a regular school. That's been my focus in parks and recreation, and pretty much everything that I've been doing has all been Native culture teachings. So I would say the last 20 years, I've been focusing on Wintun. I've been involved in the environment of the Wintun, with working and leading tours within the Sutter Buttes and around it, it finds me in Wintun and Maidu land. So my life has always been within my homeland. So I am a homeland native person, and I was born and raised in my homeland, but it's more like I'm a refugee in my own homeland, because far and few in between when I run into native people doing just casual things. And I'm also an extinct tribal member. I don't belong to any tribe. I am I am viewed as a blood quantum native California Indian. I have blood in Maidu, Wintun, Hupa, and Yurok. And my grandmother was a full-blooded California Indian who wasn't recognized either. So she was an extinct. I lived with her, having to deal with her whole life, trying to get recognition in any kind of tribe, but tribes would deny her for some reason or another, or they would tell her, oh, you can be a piece of our tribe, but we will never allow your kids to be a part of our tribe. So that's the kind of rhetoric she went through. So it's been like a refugee of our own land, being an extinct Indian. It's kind of a hard shadow to live in, but you know what? I had the best opportunity having my grandma, because she was a holder of much knowledge. This is the picture of my grandma I have next to me that I'm sitting by. I like to have it with me all the time. That's my grandma, Bertha Norton. She wears the hat to recognize her husband, who was Hupa and Yurok. It was made by Vivian Helsting, who made the basket just for her, in recognition of her in their lives together in California. And that basket hat, I would say she wears it for him. Oh, she would correct me, like she's correcting me now in my hearing it, is that she didn't wear it for him. She wears that hat for us, to the grandkids, to remind us that we were also Wintun and Hupa. And she's not just teaching us about Wintun Maidu, she's teaching us also about him, Hupa Yurok. So that's the reminder, is that hat, which is Hupa Yurok. It isn't a type of hat our people would wear. So it's a beautiful hat that has all kinds of, maidenhair fern. It has dyes of the alder on the other kind of plants that would dye with it. Not all of them would dye with alder, just particular. And Native people knew all these things. And I was very lucky to be able to work with a Yurok woman who was one of the best weavers, one of my best friends who left the earth this year as well. So those are names we can't really say their names when they're on their journey, because we don't want them to turn around and come back. They have an important journey, and we'll all make it someday. But we don't want to have to come back and and worry about those that are still here. We need to keep continuing on the journey. So we don't choose to, but it's part of our religion to not say their name on their journey. So I've lost a lot in the past couple years, but one thing I did do was manage to learn as much as I can from them, so I could speak for them. Right now, I can't use their name when I speak for them, but someone like my grandma, I can. She's been gone for a while. This picture right here represents her age really well. She was born in 1897. That lady, she was about 99 in that picture. And the boy that she's with is her grandson, great grandson, Joshua, who is in the Army right now, just entered, full grown now. And the thing is there's 1 year between them. She's 100 and he's 1, so it's very, oops, sorry, I got to turn this off. It's very interesting to think of that, that the difference here, but it's very clear, the generations in between this. And I got to be a part of that life teachings with my grandma. I took her everywhere. And there were other people did it too, not just me. There are other people that valued my grandmother and knew that when she called them and said, hey, there's this ceremony, could you take me? And if you ended up being the one lucky enough to be able to take her, you got the full treatment at the ceremony. people would open the doors for her, put her in the best spot. Doesn't mean that you had to go and crowd into that next spot, but sometimes they said, well, you need to be with her to watch her, so and I'm talking ceremonies that go back in time that you could look around your world that you live in right now around you and never understand what I'm talking about, because there's only one park that recognizes this type of ceremony, and that would be Chasey National Park in Jackson, Ione, because it has a roundhouse in it. And that's what I'm talking about, is when you had ceremonies where you had to go into the roundhouse. The roundhouse is like our temple. It's our storytelling center, it's our religious side. Some of the first words that I learned from my grandma was when she would be in the roundhouse and she'd say, dihiti, dihiti, balate were, dihiti. And what it means is get up, it's time to eat. Because when you're in a ceremony and you're just dancing and dancing and feasting and dancing. And when it comes time to feast, you need to get up and do that then, not any other time. So you had to wake up. You might have been tired, but get up, get up. This is what she's saying. Dihuti, dihuti. So my grandma's words stick in my head, those are, that's Wintun, that's traditional Wintun. And I would tell my teacher, the one that taught me, Bertha Mitchell, the one that works with a lot of people, the Yoshadihi too, working with them. And Bertha Mitchell, I mentioned that word to her, that sentence to her, and she was like, I don't know what that means. And I'm not really sure if she didn't recognize it so much as she was trying to understand the dialect. And that's basically what it came down to later on, how she'd tell me, it sounded so different when you say it because I have a dialect. She goes, and it was hard for her to realize that my dialect was so accurate to Bertha. And she goes, and I knew your grandma. She was one of the only people that I could sit and talk to. Bertha Mitchell, that was her first language she spoke. And again, it was one of her friends, and they would sit together and talk and only be able to understand through dialect and understanding each other's dialect. So that's kind of like us trying to sit there and clearly understand someone in the deep South trying to talk to us. The words are quite different, sound the same. You think they know what they mean, but they don't. It changes. Definition sometimes changes the parameters of the area you live in, and that's what you call a dialect. So this is my lifestyle growing up. Not just going to ceremonies, but going to gathering sites. And and grandma would tell me I would gather this here, I would gather that there. And that as a young age didn't really mean much to me because I didn't know what the plants she was talking about were. But as I got older, I would go, oh, you were talking about the root, weren't you? You were talking about the root of a plant. And she was like, yeah, like I should know. So this whole life with my grandma, taking her everywhere, was just this eye-opening feast of knowledge and awareness of my environment, which I appreciated. And one of the things she would say that I just love to say to my great grandkids and grandkids is, I don't have any great kids, sorry, grandkids and my kids, is that when we go by the Sutter Buttes, one thing that she would say to me all the time was, do you see the lady over there? That lady over there? And I'm like, all I see is the Buttes. And she's going, yeah, do you see the lady in her? And I'd be like, oh, this deep thought process that was so normal for her was so hard for me to break out of in the Western society and what is taught to you in Western society. So she didn't want me to just see it. She wanted me to see within it, to look for it. Things that at that time in school didn't teach you that kind of stuff, you know. So when I would look at it and I would never see it, and I'd go, I just pretend, yeah, grandma. And I just thought she was referring to the mountain itself. So through time, I would understand what she meant. There are times when I could go by it and I see her just perfectly, So it's really a story between me and her. I don't know how part of the tribe it was, or was it with her part of the tribal membership, knowing her father, and this is her father up here. And I would probably want you to look at that picture a little clearer. I'll get it up there. Is my great grandfather. I might have to grab it because I don't want to take you too far out of my view here. Is this one right here? Is my great grandfather in the middle? That's her father. And the cultures, and when I talk about ceremony, he was the one in the ceremony. And if you see there, he's a shake head dancer in the middle, and then you have the big head dancers on the side. And this was the Hessy ceremony. And what I want you to hear on this is that the Hessy ceremony was the ceremony of the earth, because that was what our people were, earth people, taking care of the earth. So when you have the Hessy ceremony, we call it big head, because you've seen the headdress on that. It's a big headdress, you see that? So, and it expands even further with the willow wands that stick out. And then it has feathers on it. And so it looks like it looks like a planet with stars around it at night. And so it's like the Hessy ceremony, the big head ceremony, talking about the regalia. I'm sure our people didn't name it that, but in order for others, Westerners, to understand what we were talking about, the big head probably came into view to describe it like that, so they'd know what we were talking about instead of using our language for it. So the big head ceremony was our celebration of the earth, where we are taking care of the earth, and we ask for direction in taking care of the earth. It's all about the earth, our culture in this ceremony, this Hessy, about the earth. And within the Hessy, you're singing about everything on the earth that you love. Anything that reminded you of anything, you're going to sing about it in that ceremony. I can't go into detail. There's so many times I would be in the ceremony and someone would be in the ceremony telling someone else, oh, this is the part where, and this is the part where, and they would get in trouble for that. Someone would come up and say, stop that. And I didn't quite understand it, but it's very distracting in a ceremony for someone big to be talking out loud about what you're doing. So that was not something that you're supposed to do. My grandma said, you're supposed to know this, so ask the questions on the outside, not during the ceremony. I guess it's kind of like when you go to a movie, don't talk during a movie. I don't know, but that's the only thing similar to what I seen in that, but it was deeper than that. So the ceremony was very important. And if you noticed, it has all the goose feathers, which is something my grandma talked about a lot, was loving goose feathers. They're so soft. Always having to have a goose feather pillow. She had to have goose feathers by her all the time. And we would make boas out of goose feathers and dance with them. And not now. They don't do that now. We make kind of substitute things during the ceremony because we just don't have the geese we used to have. In the old day, Plumas County, Plumas River, the whole area was called Plumas because there were feathers all over the rivers from the geese. So those are things that, are hard to explain because it's not a memory anyone has anymore of California and how it's changed. And the big change that you should be concerned about is how it changed the earth, and how we don't have those geese anymore, that do those things. We don't have the duck that do those things. The flicker headband that they wear in the shake head is all orange. We just don't even have enough, seems like woodpeckers, the northern flicker, to be able to make those anymore. These are all songbird feathers. The baskets we use with feathers, those birds that just aren't here anymore. So it's about taking care of the earth. Has to do with climate. Take care of the earth, you got your climate you need. It just all makes sense. So this is one powerful ceremony, and different people celebrate it in different ways. There's the white deerskin dance up in the upper coast of the west coast of California, up higher by Oregon. They have a white deerskin dance that's just as powerful. But again, I don't know as much about it because I don't live there. So the culture is very important, and basketry is a big part of it all too, because in order to make baskets, you have to have the materials, and they have to grow correctly in order for you to make something. I want you to see this. This is a beautiful basket. It wasn't made by me. A beautiful basket, and I want to get a little close for the detail in that. If you can notice, some of the stems in it, they're almost the same exact um, circumference. They're same size, same width, you know. So when someone gathered materials for this basket, they have a lot of materials out, and they would pick through it to get the right size. So you had to gather, you had to prepare, then you had to separate everything into the right size. So I might get enough on one gathering spree to do this, you see. And this is red bud. This is the reddish red bud. I think this is more the area. It was made by one of the Mono people I know from the area. They still make these baskets just as bigger and gorgeous as this one. Not the same person, but they still make them. This has not been lost, this ability. I got one I'm reaching behind me right now. Okay, so this is what you call a winnowing tray. This is how we'd separate lighter things from heavier things, like big chunks of nut from maybe the skin of the nut, you know, and then you'd be able to use this to separate it, you know, and fling it like this, and the wind would carry it away. I know how to use this. I use it for that reason, and it's one of the only kind of things that you could use that are very good at doing it. I don't think I've had a sifter or a winnower made by a westernized kitchen facility to be able to do what these baskets can do. This right here is a miniature burden basket. You see, it's a miniature, and it was made by Ardith Reed. This again is miniature. These things could be huge. They had to go on the back of your neck right here and held in by a trump line so that it wouldn't fall. But the weight of it was on your back, like this in my head. The weight is on your back, like this, you know, so that you're not having this to bend over and mess up your body. The weight of everything in it. You would be gathering you would be carrying firewood. You'd be carrying gathering materials. You'd be carrying maybe if you hunted, you might be having wrapped meat in it or something. If you know, it could carry anything, but the balance for it is to be on your back when you carry it, not in front of you, which is bad. You want it back on your glute muscles in between your shoulder blades. So this is a burden basket, miniature, of course. So a few baskets that we used, and I got this right here. This is a miniature I made out of tule, because I like to use tule. Tule I call is my teacher, and it's kind of the shape of the basket my Wintun relatives would make, you know, that kind of shape of a basket. And my Wintun heritage comes from the southern Wintun, or what people are known as the Patwin. Patwin is a word from our language. It's not just referring to our people, but it's a word of our language. So Patwin actually comes from two words. Pat, which means outside. You know, if you were to go outside, you go, you know, you go habu, pat, habu, let's go outside. And so win is an important word. Win is like person. So what we're saying, Patwin, you know, what are you? So that person must have said, Patwin, I'm an outside person. You know, we live outside. We don't really like being enclosed in houses. And, you know, when you think about COVID, what happened? Where was the best place to be? Outside. Okay, where you got fresh air. You got the you got the release of the wind that's bringing in all the different types of molecules of oxygen that you need to breathe, not just the negative ions of oxygen inside the house with air conditioning. You need to be outside to get that product of the natural earth, you know, which is better for yourself. When people get headaches in my house, I tell them, you need to be outside more. You need some, you know, an ion ionizer in your room or something to get back that negative ion for you to breathe. But that's a Western society cure. You know, the cure is actually to be outside, you know, and I'm thrilled to be able to, you know, talk to the group that everybody here, and people who like to go out to museums, people who like to go out to parks. These, I kind of see all of you as outside people. You're people who like to go out, go outside, you know, see things outside, you know, or maybe even look at a building inside, but for the most part, you're touring around, you're looking around, you're going to be outside again. You know, I kind of see that all is wrapped into that feeling of adventure to go learn. So that's basically when I go outside, that's what I want to do. I'm out learning. I might not go to the museum, I might not do that, but I'm going to a forest, I'm going to a woodland, I'm going to another area that I was told about that I want to go look at the site to see what's there, you know, and that's basically a lot of the things that I do, you know, whether I'm going to do a stewardship piece on it to take care of the land, or I'm going to look at the plants and see what kind of condition they're in. You know, do I want to gather here? Want to create a gathering site. You know, this is one site, she's Patwin. And a lot of the sites that she wanted to go see that we could gather from were gone. You know, there's a house there, there's a parking lot there. That plant does not exist in that spot anymore. And so it was very heartbreaking. And in a way, it became a point where she'd go, I'm going to go show you the site. And that automatically would hit me like, oh no, you know, I don't know if I want to put her through that again. You know, we're going, why don't we go look at this other place that I read about, you know? So those are the kind of things that I would go through with her when it came to the visiting sites thing. You know, and I go check them out first, go look what I found, and then go take her to it. There was a beautiful basket maker I knew from Plumas County who totally was able to take care of her stand of bear grass for her whole life. And she used that bear grass site her whole life. And she had an agreement with Caltrans because it was I wouldn't say it was by the roads. I would say the roads grew closer and closer to her site. Okay, so her site was there before any road was. So Caltrans, she had an agreement with them to not ever do anything to her site of bear grass. And if they ever had to, they would call her, you know, and so they honored that agreement for most of her life. And then towards the end, they did not honor it. When she went to go visit her site, it was gone. And they just made the road bigger and did not contact her. So she was very upset and called Caltrans and asked them why. Why didn't you call me? I had an agreement, you know. And then they quickly told her, oh, that person retired. So either that person retired and chose not to tell where it lies. It could be other ways to calculate it too, but for the most part, they didn't tell her. And then so she left the world, you know, not having her site there to know that it was still safe. And this happened over and over with our peoples, you know, and their sites. So with those things in mind, me and another group of people, and I will say that I had this thought in my head before, where where I lived at the moment, I created my own pond and start growing my own native plants there because I wanted to have my plants by me rather than trying to go out there and find them all messed up. I wanted to be able to get plants growing everywhere. I thought everybody should have their own native plants in their front yard. That's the way I think everybody should be in Western society. It's not trying to grow this crabgrass and the white picket fence, but hey, let's just grow natural native plants again and let them grow and take care of them. That's the ideal in my, you know, native mind. So I just wanted to say I had that going in my backyard. And then I found out there was a group of people, or what you call a committee, who were trying to create a tending and gathering garden. And so Pam Gonzalez was one of them, one of my cousin, the same tribe, and so one of the same tribes we come from. We have a sister, we're related Wintun by 2 sisters. And, you know, and their descendants, that's how we're related. And she called me and said, "Are you still doing that? We're starting this." And I got involved. And next thing you know, I'm hired working there, taking care of the plants. So I really got to spend a lot of time just getting to know some plants and raising them and growing them with them for a couple of years, just tending them. And it was incredible. It was an incredible feeling. And that site is still there and it's still growing, and it's grown on its own. You know, it finally got its root in the, it finally got its tap root, you know, growing in the aquifer. So my big thing right now is to make sure that aquifer is going to remain, or we're losing the plants. And aquifer is where the water is located under the ground. So anyway, it's still there over at Cache Creek Conservancy. And I think all those aggregate mines should become that, because the water's flowing there. So this tending and gathering garden is taking care of itself. And it's also gives us a place to demonstrate how to take care of the land. So the next best thing is, after they're taking care of themselves, which is the first thing, is to be able to burn them, to make sure that the water returns. And I don't know if you can visualize this in any way, but when you burn, it returns the water back to the water. You know, so the plant that's using water unnecessarily stops using it when you burn the plants. So it's pretty amazing. So water grows with the taking care of the land like that. The water will stay put. It won't evaporate so much. But I can never know what's going on with the fracking and what that's doing to the aquifers. So there's a lot of things we need to think about and be open with. You know, they always say no non-disclosure. We have to be transparent. You know, then that's basically what I'm doing, is when I tell you those things, I'm being transparent with those things. But I also know, you know, I might be stepping on somebody's toes, and I'm sorry about that. But we should be transparent in all this. We need to take care of this earth. You know, it's very important to me. And I think a good word to teach you right now is the word for earth, Wheelock. Wheelock. I like it. It's a pretty word. So the Wheelock is here, and we still live on it. It's where we're born and raised. It's our chemical makeup. That's really how I feel. I don't think I've chemically makeup is for any other planet except the earth. So I'm happy here. And I still learn. There's so much to learn. Even with the plants that I do know, I'm still learning more and more about them all the time. One thing I do want to share.
You want me to share the bear?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where you're gonna show the slide. The slideshow, and this is the first one. This right here, I want to let you know it's not bear grass, it's deer grass, but they kind of look similar. They kind of look similar. Deer grass grows here in the Sacramento Valley. Bear grass grows up in the hills. There is some grows in Placer County and lower within the Maidu area. It does grow in the higher altitudes in the Maidu area. But here on flat 0 level elevation land, we got some great deer grass. And I like to use this as an example of burning because it's present. Caltrans uses deer grass a lot. They'll plant it around in a lot of different places. So going down the freeway, you'll see deer grass. This is overgrown deer grass. This is deer grass that we hadn't been able to tend. So it's using a lot more water than it really needs to. And look at how full and brown it is. It looks like it could catch on fire. We need to take care of it so that doesn't happen. That's what happened with the forests. You know, they needed to be taken care of. And so if they sit like this for too long, you know, things could happen that we don't want to happen. So one thing we can do is do little spot fires to make sure that doesn't happen. So after a spot fire, we're able to, we burn the whole thing and they come back green, you see? And that's me in the middle taking care of it. So with me over there doing it, it kind of looks pretty disastrous, doesn't it? But that's just what it looked like for the moment. And I want to let you know that it was really cool to hear one of the Mono fire burners, Ron Good. He said that land and water were, the land was the female and the water was the male. And when water and land gave birth, their first child was fire. And while standing in that, I kind of see, you know, how they need each other, how the fire is taking care of the land, at the moment, and then it returns the water back to the land, to the water system by taking the water from the growing pieces of deer grass that really don't need to be there anymore at the moment. So nobody's scared there. You know, fire isn't the horrible thing that we've been taught in Western society sometimes. We just need to know how to work with it. And here, I'm moving it. I move it along. I've got the little piece in front of me. You see that? I'm keeping my eye on it because I'm trying to get it to burn the next one down. And I'll move it over. I'll walk it with me just like it's my pet. And I'll walk it over and have it burn and wait for it to burn and then move it to the next. So the girl in front recognizes that solely, and look at how much she's like really feeling the ability to be able to bring that health back to those plants. So, and that's me, and that's my daughter Uti standing in the back there. So I'm not scared of it all. And, I bring my daughter with me. They're all usually with me helping out on these things. So it is a traditional thing that we're doing. So that's fire. And look at the wood structure in the back. Nothing happened to that. Now here is on the side of the hill. This is something Kuruk and Hupa do really well, or they burn uphill in ravines, and it's really amazing how they can do that. And they know the fire so well, they can do it that way, burning uphill. Or a lot of times when someone's walking a trail at night and they're coming home on a trail at night, they burn their way home, and that you could literally see them. I mean, this was an old day. I don't know if they still do that now, but they said that you could reportedly see them coming, and then everyone would get up knowing that that person's coming home because they could see them coming home. So living in the Hupa country is very different. Going up and down every day. That's something my grandfather was glad to leave when he came down to the flat valley to live. He didn't really like the going up and down all the time. He was ready to go to flat land and do farming. So these are those redbud and oaks that we were burning there, and redbuds there. So they're all black there. Burn them down to nothing. So we're still ready to take the rest of that down right there. So next picture, and I know what that is. You see that little thing there? So cute. See, I see bugs different. I love bugs. I'm always teaching my kids about bugs. So this right here is a hoverfly. Looks like a bee, huh? That's his protective way. That bee right there, that hoverfly bee, it's on our California aster. I got that on my balcony here. California aster provides a lot of flowers, and the bugs love it, and the hoverflies always come to it. And you see that on the side, it's the abdomen, the colors. I see that so much represented in baskets. You don't even know. I mean, you could look at baskets and not even know what they mean, but when I look at them, that basket's communicating with me. I'm thinking, oh, this is a hoverfly, that's a wasp, that's there's all these different things that I could see in them and what they're telling me. Is that something they've seen all the time? Is this something they used to gather them or gather the flower around them? So that's the hoverfly. And after I took his picture, it kind of hovered above the flower and came over and looked at me closer, then went back to eating. So I'm never really afraid of the native flies or bugs or anything. They're always pretty friendly. Even the carpenter bee, the big giant bumblebee, those are the most gentlest kind. They can buzz right by your head, but they have no intention of getting tangled in your hair or anything. They'll go on to the next plant. And I just wanted you all to see this too. On my balcony, that's the part of my balcony right there hanging over the flowers. And the white flowers are the one that I just showed you, the California aster. Then I have California fuchsia. But you see, every year I get visited by the monarchs, and they love the California aster. You know, it's not just a milkweed. You know, it's the California aster. The milkweed is what they lay their eggs on. You know, and then the larvae have to eat the milkweed. But when it comes to a butterfly, it needs as much pollen as it can get. You know, it's over here, and it just would stay every day. It would come back to eat more and more of the California aster. So it's not just one plant, and we can't always think in terms like that. There's only one answer to it. There's more than that. I would say the butterfly wouldn't exist without the milkweed, because that's the only thing the larvae eat, you know, so it wouldn't exist without it. So we do need the milkweed, but you also need the balance of the other plants, not just the milkweed. So there's the California aster and the California fuchsia, you know, a couple of my favorites of the native plants. And they do kind of grow, they grow full and thick. And so I trim them back every, I'm out there cutting away the dead pieces of it, you know, putting it back in the soil and make a more clean soil. You know, I don't like to just buy soil from bags and gardens. I create my soil by using every piece that dies, throwing it back in the soil to make soil. Tule is a good one for that. Tule makes great soil. So we'll be going on to the next one. Oh, was that all our pictures?
Yep.
All right, because that one was more of a visual to show you. You know, those are the times that I'm out on my balcony and I'm like just thrilled. I get up in the morning, I run outside as early as I can to sit and wait for my arrival of all these things, hummingbirds and everything like that to come and, you know, eat from them. There's a painting that one of my elders did. His name was Frank Day, and he's Maidu. He lived in the area too, and he couldn't speak. You know, he was angry, he was hurt, he was very much angry and defeated. You know, really sad. So it's kind of hard. That's how my grandpa was. He always sounded like Fred Flintstone. You know, he's rah, rah, rah. You know, because they're angry. They've been hurt. They've been challenged in life. Nothing's the same. They're very hurt people, and so he was like that. And so instead of talking, because he felt he couldn't talk to people because they didn't understand him, they'd say the wrong thing, he'd get angry, he'd get mad. So what he decided to do was paint. That was incredible. And then his paintings became the most important pieces of communication for him. And one of the paintings that stick out in my mind was him and a hummingbird, talking about how the hummingbird would hypnotize the rattlesnake, you know, and just dropping, going in circles and hypnotizing the rattlesnake and keeping him still, and then using the rattlesnake for power. And he would watch that and painted it, you know, so it's something I like to watch for too. So I don't know, are we at a point where we take questions now?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Diana. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so if there's any questions, please place them in the chat. I've got one for you.
Uh-huh.
So what plants do you recommend that we plant for ourselves? Like you were saying, sort of keeping plants indigenous. You're saying, right, you've got a small patio. So what is sort of what do you recommend that we sort of try to outfit our own personal landscapes with to, you know, support the sustainability of the environment?
Okay, I like the idea of using Baltic Rush or the deer grass for edging. You know what I mean? To make kind of like a gate, you know, a borderline or something, because they will stay like that. You know, they're good plants. So deer grass is good. It's big though. It could grow up to 4 to 5 feet with the culms, but it's a basketry plant. It's a usable basketry plant, and you can always trim it. And what I love about the deer grass is people will cut them down and make little balls out of them. You can do that too if you want. And that's what people do. So you could do that with deer grass, you know. and it's also a native plant that will live off the aquifer and also drought resistant, you know, all that same thing. So this is one I got on my table right here that I wanted to show you is right here. You see it really well. It's what you call the yarrow. You see, there was someone in Davis has their whole yard in yarrow. So you can literally have yarrow and sit on it, you know, and it'll grow back again. You know, you can create spots to sit on the ground and then have your yarrow growing. And it's a really good tea if you have fevers or even if you got a headache or something. If you're out there in your yard and you got a headache, you just take a piece and just eat it. And it gets rid of headaches. You know, this is really an important plant. So yarrow is one of those. This one right here, just to show you the flower on the top, it can be as big as and as thick, you know, wide as, oh, sorry, I don't want to get you in the sun. Here, as the, it's called the Baltic Rush. It's got the flowers right there. You can see that little flower. It's like a tulip. It's like a mini tulip. And it's a Baltic Rush, and it goes about the size of the deer grass. That is a great, like a outline of a lawn too, you know. But as far as ground and other plants to accent that, California fuchsia, you know, it's incredible. You know, California aster, they grow well, but it's okay to cut them down. You know, if they grow well and there they are, after they flower, just cut them down. You know, that's all you have to do. And then you could even, as the roots grow, you know, because here's the, like, it's the soil here. And when you cut it down, and the roots start budging up further, what it does is it creates a root wall. You know, it kind of creates, so these things hold creeks in place. You see? So when you have all these kind of plants growing in a creek, it's actually creating that root ball, that thick root that is sticking together and creating that wall. You see? So when you start planting these and you've got them on the edge of your walkway, you've got them on the edge of your lawn side or whatever you want to create, as you cut them through the years, they'll grow up through it. That root ball, and it gets bigger, creates what you call the foundation to the side of a river that doesn't break. So when you water your lawn, the water will stay in your lawn, not go over. You see, and then it goes in the streets. Then you use it. What was that?
Sounds like good drought investment.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I know that's what some policies have made planting native plants for.
If anyone has
using water.
I have one other question. Feel free to put your questions in the chat as well. And then we'll close up here in a second. So what is the language spoken by the Wintun and Miwok? You mentioned a few words, but what is the name for the language?
Patwin.
Patwin is the language too.
Yeah,
okay.
Patwin is referring to the dialect. But there are Southern Wintun that call themselves Patwin. I would, you know, someone asked me, what are you? I'd say Wintun, I'm the Patwin part of the Wintun. You know, I'm known as the Patwin, you know. So I just wanted to share another word then, Yolo. Yolo, which means wait. Yolo means wait, because Yolo was the area where people would camp to wait for the herds of animals to come in to hunt, like the pronghorn. They would do this big loop around Sutter Buttes. And so this part of the loop, you know, so you're waiting in this part of the loop. So as they come moving around, eating the fresh grown grass, they move, eat the fresh grown grass, move, they kind of do that. And then you're waiting for them to come. And when they come, then you can hunt, you know, so you're waiting for them. Then when you hunt them, then you gotta break them down and dry some, then take them home. So literally everyone's waiting. So it's a YOLO bowl. Everyone's waiting. You know, it's so YOLO's stuck. I don't think the people that chose Yolo as the name of this county, they knew what it meant. They just thought it was the name, the right name, YOLO. And they were right. It was the right name.
Yep.
Not that I have to wait in lines, just that I have to, we're just learning about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone who participated in the talk today. Thank you all that attended. And we shall see you at the next Knowledge at Noon. Thank you, Diana, for your expertise and your ongoing care of the culture, Native American culture, and the land. Keep those plants flowering, and also keep those butterflies migrating.
Yes, yes, and hopefully you can start your own little path for the monarchs.
Absolutely,
Uh-huh.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you
to
all
work
so
with
much.
you.
Have a lovely day. Thank you.
Bye.